Hello, Firsties. Today we're going to talk about the book that we read already, The Invisible String. So if you haven't read the book yet or listened to it, go back and read it and then come back and we'll talk about summarizing our story. I told you that there were two things that we wanted to pay close attention to in the book. And the first one was the author's message or the author's purpose. And that means, what is the big idea? Or what is the author trying to tell the reader? Understanding the message helps you understand the story. So let's think about the story. Why do you think the author wrote the story? What's his big idea? Now, generally when we have a test, they'll give us 3 choices. So I'm going to give you 3 choices for the author's message. Number 1, to show how to make a magic string. 2, to show us that our mom will love us even when we do bad things. 3, to show us that even when we are apart, we are still loved. Now, generally, there's one choice that we can throw out. And what I want you to do before I throw one out is I want you to vote. You think it's answer 1, I want you to hold up a 1. If you think it's 2, hold up a 2. If you think it's 3, hold up a 3. Remember, number 1 is to show how to make an invisible string. 2, to show us that our mom will love us when we do bad things. And 3, to show us that even when we are apart, we are still loved. Ready? Vote. Okay, hands down. Now, if you said 1, no, the story doesn't talk about a magic string and making it. Well, it does talk about the invisible string, but it's not like a magic trick. It doesn't show us how to make it. It's not a how-to book, so we'll get rid of that one. That's when it gets a little bit tricky, because I know in the story it talks about both of these things. For instance, number 2 says to show us that our mom will love us when we do bad things. Did that happen in the story? Well, let's see. Remember this page? They talked about when you're mad at us, will we still have the string? Will the love still be there? And she says, yes, the string will always be there. So I'm thinking, well, maybe that one. But then I think back to choice number 3. To show us that even when we are apart, we are still loved. And I think back to the beginning of the book where it says, you don't need to see the invisible string. People who love each others are always connected by a very special string made of love. Okay, so it talks about both of these things. But then if I think back to the book a little bit more, it talks about the string between the kids and the mom and how they still love each other even when they're apart. And then it talks about when they can't be with their friends, that the string is still there, even when they're very far apart. Even if you're on a submarine, the string is still there. If you're climbing a mountain or you're dancing in France, you're a jungle explorer, an astronaut in space. And then remember it talked about Uncle Brian in heaven? Said, yes, even there. So even though that's not somebody that they see from time to time, they still have their memories to connect them to Uncle Brian. So now that I'm thinking about the story a little bit more, I'm thinking that even though it did mention this one, there was a lot more evidence to say that the reason that the author wrote this story was to show us that when we're apart from people, the love is still there. Okay, the next thing that we're going to talk about is making a connection to the reading. And there's 3 ways that we can connect to a story. First of all, making a connection means I can connect to help me better understand the text. and bring meaning to the text. Text to world. So in this story, I think about what's going on in the world right now when everybody's having to stay in their homes because we don't want the virus to spread. So I'm connecting to the world when I think about how the book talks about that. And then text to self. That's when I think about how the story relates to me. For instance, I can't be with y'all. So even though we're separated, I know that we still carry each other and that we will be together someday. But even though we can't see each other, we still love each other and we're connected by that special string. And the last way you can connect to text is from text to text. In other words, how does this story remind you of another story that you read? For instance, if you'll remember at the beginning of the school, we read a story called Chrysanthemum. And it made me think about how Chrysanthemum was always comforted by her parents when the kids were mean to her at school. And so it kind of reminded me when the kids were afraid, how they went to their mom for comfort. So I kind of connected those two stories together. All right, let's see how this story connects to you. I want you to think of somebody that you have an invisible string with. Think real hard, and you're probably thinking of a lot of people. For instance, maybe some of you don't live with both of your parents. And so when you're not with one, you miss them, but the love's still there, right? Or maybe they're having to work a whole lot right now because they have an important job and they're trying to provide for the family. Even when they're gone, the love is still there. How about your grandparents? You probably can't be with them right now. Probably can't even go visit them. And that's sad because on Easter, I always spend Easter with my mom. And then my grandma, she passed away. And so all I have left is the memories. And that brings me comfort because I know the love is still there. How about brothers and sisters? Well, some of you have a brother and sister that lives with a different parent, or maybe is off to college, or maybe they're grown up and they live on their own and you miss them so much, but when you see them, it's so wonderful. And of course, there's tons of family, uncles and aunts and cousins. And even though you're not with them all the time, that invisible string of love is still there. And I know that we're all thinking about this. Our friends. You know, the last 3 months of school are the golden months. That's when we really know each other real well. We get to go on field trips. We have field day. And we're missing all that. And I'm really, in addition to just missing those things, what I miss most of all is y'all. Seeing how you're growing. Y'all, of course, y'all are sending me pictures of your missing teeth. You know how I love that. But most of all, I miss y'all. So not only do we miss our friends, I miss my students. And I hope you miss me just a little bit. But I'm excited to see when we get back together. Okay, so that is making connections. Now I want to take a look at what we were supposed to do this week for the invisible string. First thing you were supposed to do was to watch the story, which you already did. The next thing was to watch the story summary. That's what this is right there. And then I want you to retell the story to someone. Now there's a difference between summarizing and retelling. The other day we talked about summarizing. Summarizing is when you just give a few details about the story. Now when you retell it, you try to remember every detail. The next thing I want you to do is the invisible string handout. Now, if you don't have a printer at home, let me zoom out here. Don't worry, you can draw this. Guess what? I drew this. The directions say draw a picture of you, right there, and someone you love, right there, connected by the invisible string. Now, I would like for you to tell me who that person is, so write their name right down there if you don't mind. Now, some of you, I was really impressed with your work. You wrote little talking bubbles, or you wrote a little sentence, because good students, remember, do what they're supposed to, but great students, they always do a little extra. So if you want to do that, that would make me really happy. All right, this one you need to send back to me because I really want to see it. All right, then let's zoom back in. So that one says you have to turn it in. Now the next thing is optional, and I have some coloring pages for you. Let me show you what those look like. Well, here's one I did for the class. I printed this out. Now you could just draw this if you don't have a printer at home. And I put everybody's name on it. And then I had 2 extras, so I put Matt and Amanda, and I put my cat Abby and my dog Sophie there. And I tried to draw y'all the way that I remembered you. So you're going to be able to do that. Now when you do that, let me show you how to access that through Google Classroom. Make it real easy here. Let me adjust my phone. Zoom in here. All right. So hopefully you're using Google Classroom. You go into first grade. Now this is my account, so it may look a little bit different than yours. All right. Then I'm going to go up here to where it says classwork right there. And then underneath reading, because we're doing reading now, I'm going to scroll down just a little bit. And we're on week 5, so we're looking for things that say number 5. And it says the invisible string. I click on that and let me scroll down a little bit. And it tells you the directions. Listen to the reading. Listen to the summary. There's the story. There's the handout. And summary's not on there because I'm recording it right now. And here is, let me move this down a bit. For my class, I did the paper and I put everybody's name on it. So if you want to do it for our whole class, I've already put the names in there and you'll open this one up. If you don't want to do one for the whole class, you're going to come over here, or if you're in a different class, and you're going to click on Invisible String Coloring. Let's open it up. Now this is 11 pages, so if you have a printer, you don't want to print all 11 pages. You're going to scroll down. Now I put this on 50% down here so I could see a little bit better. Let's see. All right, there's one. If you just want to do 2 people, you can. There's 4 people. You put yourself in the center, and a dog and a cat. There's one with just a dog, one with just a cat. There's one with a bunch of people. One with a bunch of people and a cat, one with a bunch of people and a dog. If you go way down to page 11, down here it says 1111. This is the one that I did. It doesn't have anybody's name on it. So when you go to print, I'm going to go down here to the little printer. And I'm going to tell it to just print the page I want. So where it says pages right here, click on custom, and I say 11. And then it will just print out page 11 and it shows it over here. So this is what you're going to print. All right, then you tell it to print. You can either print it color or black and white. And again, if you don't have a printer, you can just draw it. Or you don't even have to do this. This is optional, but I really enjoy doing it. Okay, I hope you enjoyed the story this week, The Invisible String. It was a brand new book to me, and I thought it was a really cool book. So if you have any opinions, I'd love to hear them. Talk to you later.